Hey, so I'm back again today working on my floor. I am going to be actually starting the stenciling process today. I was able to get a second coat on the floor done. I'm pretty happy with the color. It's a really nice true gray color like I wanted. And again, I'm using Rock Solid Home by Rust-Oleum. It's a two-part system. You can just do regular solid paint color on the floor, but I decided to opt for a stenciled design as well. And if you guys saw my bathroom stenciled tile update that I did, I used vinyl stencils for that, and it was great because I got like perfectly crisp, clean lines, and it looks like legitimate tile in there. It doesn't look like a painted floor at all, at least in my opinion. But for this room, one, based on its size, I didn't want to deal with weeding all of that vinyl out. And, it was an incredibly tedious process last time, so I'm trying to avoid that again. The only reason I even did the vinyl to begin with on the last one is because I had purchased this stencil. And as you can see, it is quite large. It's a 16-inch stencil, and it's by Cutting Edge Designs. Anyway, or Cutting Edge Stencils. I can post the link later. My tiles in my bathroom were 16 inches, so I thought I needed to get I wanted to just get like a 16-inch stencil and be able to paint one solid per, tile stencil on there. But when the stencil came in, I was like, this is really big. This is a really big design for how small our bathroom is, and I opted to create my own smaller design and use the vinyl instead. But I'm going to reuse this stencil for this room, since this is obviously much bigger than my bathroom, and I think that it will be able to hold the gigantic design a little bit easier. And I'm also, since we did this straight onto the concrete, I'm not as worried about the lines being perfect or having like bleed through or anything like that. My attempt is going to be to make this look a little bit more worn in, less perfect by intention, which will help me save time and energy and everything else. So I wanted to hop on and show you guys the actual stencil design I'm doing, like I just showed you. And a problem I've run into is I am butting this all the way to the edge of the wall, and because of that, I need to be able to get this stenciled edge all the way to the end. So I'm going to end up having to cut, even with the gap under my baseboard, I'm going to end up having to cut like this big chunk of excess off right here to be able to butt it up directly against the wall, which is kind of annoying because I want to start from an edge and work my way out. And so I'm gonna have to start right away with like kind of a wonky stencil. The good news is it does have a guide on the other side for like where your next design should lay, so that you can be able to get them like, straight across. So I have the stencil. I'm gonna cut that pretty soon. But the biggest problem I had with my tile, and I'm still running into here, is I have a 130-pound Rottweiler who sheds. It's the middle 100+ degree heat outside of the summer, and he sheds, and I cannot keep the hair out of this room long enough to get the floor painted. Even with having the doors closed, like just when I'm tracking in, coming in and out to get supplies, there's hair everywhere. So in my bathroom, I'm gonna actually take my hair down because I shed a lot too. I have a lot of hair I shed. It's not just my dog. In my bathroom redo, I went ahead and like did what a couple bloggers had posted, which was just to like use tape. And so I literally just patted tape all over the floor. Well, that's great if it's a small room, but since this room is so much bigger, I don't want to sit and like have to pat tape all the way around the room. I don't have the best knees, Today's my birthday, by the way. I turned 31 today, which doesn't make me old, but my joints are definitely not the best, so I'm feeling it. Side note, I'm also a terrible boss because I'm not even giving myself my birthday off. What kind of crap is that? Anyway, so what I'm gonna try to do as a hack is I'm actually taking an empty paint roller with the long arm that I showed you guys the other day. Woo! Don't want to do that. And some clear transfer tape. This is like that dollar store drawer liner tape. And I'm going to cut off a section of it and wrap it around this roller. Find my scissors. And basically create like a giant lint roller. And hopefully, if this goes as planned and I can get it to stick on right, I'll be able to tape roll the floor to pick up what's left of the dog hair before I start painting. And if it fails, at least I tried something different. I just really don't want to have to go around on my knees and pat the floor with tape. Ain't nobody got time for that, okay? So I'm just peeling this drawer liner tape. It's tacky, obviously, and I'm going to use it to wrap around this roller. I'm obviously wrapping it in reverse so that the sticky side is out. I'm not super worried about getting it really tight because I'm going to tighten up the edges with some actual painter's tape. Now, if you look on a blog, even my last blog post about this, I had done like a wrap around my hand like this, and this is what I used to tape clean my entire floor. But we're trying to avoid that today. Let's see. So I'm gonna pull the tape off on this paint roller edge. And this part, I am gonna try to get it pretty tight on there. This is just trying to keep that that transfer tape stuff from popping off so that I can actually use it to clean up my floor. And it's not like the prettiest thing ever, but I really think that's gonna work. Let's see. And so instead of having to like, yeah. So as long as it rolls, technically I'm rolling tape all the way across my floor. So I'm going to use that just in this little roll. I don't have a lot of hair because I did sweep, but look, I don't know if you guys can see that. There's a couple dog hairs already just from that little roll. So I am going to, I can't even read what Sarah wrote because the way I have my tripod set up, it's like blocking the text. Anyway. So I am going to tighten up this side to keep it from sliding off, but not so tight that it won't continue to roll. See, it's still gonna roll. So I'm gonna use that to like pick up all the hair on the floor, hopefully, and then I'm going to cut the edge of this stencil, hopefully straight. It's too big for my straight paper cutter, so I'm gonna have to do it by hand, which is, you know, probably gonna be a total fail. And I only have one of these stencils because they're like 30 bucks for one this big, and I'm not buying a second one. So if it's crooked, your girl's gonna have crooked stencils on the floor, and we're just gonna have to deal with it. When I actually go to paint the stencil, I'm gonna use, you can use any chalk paint for it, but because I'm doing this project for Rust-Oleum, I went ahead and did their Rust-Oleum chalk paint. This is a true white chalk paint. It's really hard to tell, but it's like a bright, true white. And you can even see where the paint has dried, how those colors are gonna contrast. If you guys can see that, I think that'll look pretty good. For the roll-on, I'm going to be doing you're gonna wanna put, if you do this at home, you'll wanna put like a very, very small amount of paint on your roller, and then you actually wanna wipe it off onto a paper towel or a paper plate or something to get as much of the excess off, because anything extra is just going to go right under the stencil lines. It's gonna bleed. This stencil is not sticky. It is just like a standard old-timey stencil design cutout, so any extra paint would just leak, bleed under, and you end up with these really wonky, ugly lines. And so my process for this, like when I did the concrete floor at my booth I used to have, I did exactly what I just explained. A little bit of chalk paint, wiped it off on the paper towel, and then went right over the stencil to keep it from bleeding. You don't want to apply a lot of pressure. You just want to do a nice, easy glide on that. I'm going to be doing a time-lapse video of the whole process. That'll probably be posting maybe tomorrow. I'm about to get ready. Once I finish this stencil, I am hurrying up and loading my truck full of my stuff I'm taking out to Canton, and helping a friend of mine load in her booth, and she's letting me throw some of my smalls and stuff in there. So my stuff will be out at Canton this weekend, which is really exciting, but I'm going to have the busiest working birthday ever, and I just wanted to hop on. Oh, and also, before I forget, if you too take on this project at home, tape measure. You need to measure out your floor versus the stencil you have, so you can figure out where you need to start with your stenciling, so that you don't end with like this much of a stencil on one side versus the other. You want it to look the same way you'd want your regular floor to look. You don't want to have to like have some weird wonky edged tile on one side and everything look perfect on the other. It's better to like split a stencil in half on both sides and have it be full in the middle than it is to have like full stencil all the way across to like this weird butted up edge. I can't promise I'm going to succeed in that because I'm working on a little bit of a time crunch, but I'm going to try. So I measured out my floor and I already forgot the measurements, so I'm going to do that again. I'm going to sticky my floor, I'm going to cut the stencil, and then Mama's going to get to painting, loading for Canton, and having a very busy day. So thank you guys for popping on and seeing these little tips. I hope that if you do decide to do this, you take advantage of the sticky roller. It's very fancy. It's just going to get thrown away, but if it works to pick up the dog hair so I don't have to crawl around on my knees, that's all I need. All right, thanks everyone. Bye.